Hi, I'm Lisa Letzel, and thank you for joining me. I'm doing a short lesson from the Akashic Records, and the topic of this class is understanding our own wishes and desires. And what the question is, or how I'm going to start this session, is asking the question, what is the message we need to hear about our own wishes and desires? And the Akashic Records say what you need to know about your own wishes and desires is that they come from a place that resides deep inside you. There is a heartfelt acknowledgement of knowing what your truth is. And as you begin to find your truth, you begin to understand that there is a path that is directed in order to lead you down the direction, and I'm seeing like a yellow brick road, it leads you down the path of affinity, meaning where you need to go at the end of this journey. And what we want you to understand and know is that as you're directed down this path, you must obtain wishes and desires in order to keep you striving to the end, striving for that end result. So basically what my understanding is, or what the messages that I'm getting, is that in order to get to the end of the path in this lifetime, fulfill our journey in this specific lifetime, we have to have instigators, in what I'm seeing, or prods, something that kind of pokes you to keep you going down your path. And the way that we do this, meaning the universe, the way that we do this is to give you inclinings of desires, of wants, glimpses of life that you could achieve, the way to get there. These are the things that we want you to be aware of so that you can see that there is an end result and that all of these whims are placed in your life for specific reasons. And we want you to know what those reasons are. So as we go on this journey that you call life, we call it existence. As you go down this existence of life, you begin to see that there have been certain patterns in your life that have guided you or taken you in directions that were specific. So where did these choices and decisions come from? How did these opportunities appear? And what were your decisions when you came to the conclusion of these adventures? This is what we want you to recognize. We want you to recognize that as there is a desire that is implanted within you, it's meaningful and purposeful. We have created the desire to be implanted in a way that you will feel a need or a want to do something specific, or to be something specific, or to go someplace specific. We are wanting you to understand and to know what all of this is about and what is transpiring in a way that is giving you guidance. This is what we want you to understand. The life that we have given you has been created in order for you to transfer into the future and become more knowing and available to things that are put in your path specifically. And this is what we call wants and desires in order for you to fill those passages or those paths. And this is what we want you to understand. Wants and desires are very specific to each individual need. And as you move forward on your journey, you'll begin to recognize that these desires are purposeful, and you'll begin to see that they fall in unison. You'll begin to see that, like if you look at your life and you begin to reflect on the way things have unfolded, that you can see a pattern of how things have fallen in place, that you had a specific desire that you saw the result of. And then you found another desire that had a specific result. And you begin to look at how all of these wants and desires created this pattern that's brought you to where you are today. Now, we want you to recognize that these desires or these truths may not always make sense at the time, or they may not always seem or feel like they were always for good at the time. What we want you to recognize is that all is for purpose. And begin to recognize that we're not talking about the mind's desire. We're talking about something that resides more deeply embedded within one's heart. You'll begin to recognize when there was a fleeting fancy, or there was something that was more deep-seated. What we're referring to are the deep-seated wants and desires, such as communication, such as love, friendship, nurturing, things that are specific, that are a deep longing that lies within you. They're laughing and saying, it's not about a car. It's not about making more money. It's not about the superficial. It's more of on that deep layer of knowing. We want to begin by focusing on friendships and the desire that you might find that starts from knowing another individual. Is there something that lies within you that instigates a conversation? Or that there's something that is drawn to you about that person? Is it a passing glance? And I'm seeing like two people in an office, and they happen to walk by each other, and you may not notice it the first time, but maybe the fifth time you're like, wow, they keep walking by each other. So maybe it's time that we introduce each other to each other. However you say that. That there's reasons, and there's things that unfold in your life that you call a coincidence, but sometimes they're very purposeful. What is that deep feeling that you have inside, or that there's just something that just keeps clicking or keeps repeating that you feel like is nagging at you? That's a desire. That's something that's more than just that superficial thought. There's something inside you that's driving you towards that direction. What we want you to recognize is that also can pertain to a job, an opportunity, a meaning or a purpose. Meaning it could be simple, something that's simple as words that you hear. If you hear a phrase that really resonates with you, there's a reason why you heard it, and it stirs something up that touches you. That's a desire. There are many ways and many different aspects of wants and desires that you as humans look at as superficiality only. What we want you to recognize is that there is a difference between the superficial wants and desires and the true meaning of want and desires. And what we want you to know about at this time are the true meanings. And this is what we want to discuss at this time. Okay, so I have an assistant. My assistant, Carrie, has some questions that the records have given me to ask. And so she's going to ask those questions now.
What happens when we fulfill the wishes or desires of others but neglect our own?
You become lost. There is a need, and I'm feeling more of a feeling. They're not really giving me the words of the description, but it's like you're losing a part of you. When you work to contribute a whole to another individual in order for them to gain their truth or their desire, and yet you're sacrificing your own desire in order to help them, you feel lost. You get lost. You lose your identity because, again, you're not standing in your own truth. You're extracting the desire that lies within you. Therefore, you can't move forward or walk in the steps that are needed in order for you to gain your own growth. When you as an individual begins to sacrifice or neglect, and they're saying more of a neglect, when you neglect your own desires or your own wants, and you live in the shadow of another, you never gain your truth. You never gain the ability to find out who you truly are and what you truly desire, because there's never a focus on you. You end up living your life more focused on what somebody else wants or desires, and you become second hat. There is, and actually what I'm seeing, that's funny, I'm seeing Gilligan's Island, and the captain, so like you have the captain and then you have the ship hand. And I'm seeing specifically, you got the captain hat and then you've got like the helper's hat. You become the helper, the second mate. You're never the one that's in charge of your own life if you continue to walk forward in the shadow of another. So as you see the desires of others and what they place upon you as their own agenda, begin to look at your own self and ask yourself, what is your desire? Who do you want to become? Where do you want to go? And how do you achieve this? Is there a happiness that you're lacking because you've never truly recognized what your desire is? Once you begin to feel honest about your own desires, will you succeed in fulfilling them? Or will you step back and allow others to continue and you walk in their path and not your own? This is creating your own identity, who you are and what you are to become. Are you willing to allow the chance of sacrificing yourself for another, or standing in the truth of your own life? And this is what we want you to know.
What is the meaning of wishes of an individual?
Wishes are a desire that comes deep within one's own heart. Again, we want to recognize that as you begin to look at wishes, begin to recognize where they're coming from. Are they coming from the influence of another, such as the ego, which has created an illusion that you are to compete with another's desires? Or are you simply living your own truth? Okay, and so what I'm seeing about that is that, let's say you have a really good friend and your friend is living their life and they have their own desires and their own wants and their own needs. And they have a specific job and they have a specific income and they live in a certain type of house. And you are watching this, and you are wanting to live like them. You're wanting to live in their shadow. You're wanting to become them. You want to have a job like theirs. You want to have an income like theirs. You want to live in a house like theirs. You want to drive a car like theirs. That is a want, but it's made up in your head. It's a head want. It's not the truth of a want. And we want you to recognize what the difference is. The want that we are describing to you in our version, not your version, but our version, is a want that is deep-seated within one's own being. What we are asking you to do is to recognize the truth that lies within your heart. When we seek want in an individual, we are asking them to look at what truly lies within their own heart. What is that true heart desire? Is that heart desire, is it compassion? Is it love? Is it community? Is it relationships? What is the true want? When you begin to decipher the elements of your wants and your desires, and you begin to recognize what the truth is, what is a real want and a real truth, and what is a man-created want and truth or desire. What we want you to recognize is that the real truth, the truth that lies within you, must always be met, or else there will never be happiness. Happiness will never be gained if you can't succeed in giving yourself the wants that lie within your heart.
What happens to our soul when we fulfill the wishes or desires of others but neglect our own?
You're creating the environment for a lost soul. The soul that no longer lives in its truth, but living in the truth of another. It's almost like what I'm seeing is that it creates the environment that you as a human being begins living your life as someone else and not as your own. They're saying that's all you need to know. It's that simple. You lose your identity and you become someone else.
Are our wishes or desires necessary to fulfill?
Yes. They're laughing and saying, as we spoke of, it's necessary to fill in a way that creates true happiness. Not just emotional happiness, like what our minds perceive as happiness, but it's the heartfelt, it's the core happiness. And that's what the difference is.
Why is it important for us to know what our wishes or desires are?
In order to pursue the truth, what one must recognize is that their heart lies in a place that there is no acknowledgement of another. Okay, and so what they're saying about that, what that means is that your heart knows your own truth. It doesn't know the truth of the individuals that are around you. It knows your own truth. And the way that you become more familiar with that own heart's truth is by developing a relationship with it, beginning to know and to understand what it feels like to live in your heart space and what the knowledge and the knowing is of the heart. And this is what we want you to know and to recognize when the mind plays specific games on a human. Step out of those mind thoughts and find the truth that lies within their own being, which is your own heart and your own space. It's all about you, not anyone else. It's recognizing that you must find your own truth and live that journey for yourself.
What is the purpose of giving up our wishes or desires for someone else?
There is no purpose. There is no purpose. And recognize that when you find yourself living in the shadow of another, or giving up what your desires are, what your truth is, due to the whims of another or the demands of another, recognize that you are doing nothing good for yourself. It's hurtful. And that's the end result, is that you're only damaging yourself. You're not helping another. Oh, and that leads to another comment. Okay, so what they're saying is that it's not your job to help another. It's not your job to make sure that they are happy and that they meet their needs and their wishes and their desires. It's not your job. It's not your job to complete anyone other than your own. And what you must recognize is that you would never be truly happy if you do not live within your own truth. There will never be a full, complete sense of honesty or fulfillment within your own being if you never recognize who you are and you work on your own self. You have to work on yourself. And that's why you're here. That's why you're on the earth at this time.
Okay, what is the purpose of our own wishes or desires?
To create the desire to move forward. It's for the growth that you need in order to get the end results. And this is what we want you to know. Okay, we feel that there are many desires and wants that an individual has, that they can get confused easily in what the truth is and in what the illusion is. What we want you to know is that the illusion is simply that. It's only an illusion. It will only bring you temporary satisfaction. It will never be the truth that will last forever. What the desire is that lies deep within your own being, within your heart space, is that love or that lasting that will be created for the universe to follow through on. This is what we want you to understand. We want you to understand that there's a difference in the desire that is so simplistic that the mind can create it. When the heart truly reveals the answers, then there'll be no other satisfaction that can be gained when it's the only truth. That was the last question, and we're going to end it there. So I want to thank you for joining me. And you can follow me at lisawetzel.com. And you can follow me on YouTube at Lisa Wetzel, Akashic Records Consultant. Facebook is Lisa Wetzel, Akashic Consultant. And Instagram is Akashic Records, Lisa Consultant. Oh, I'm sorry, Akashic Records, Lisa Wetzel. Sorry, too many names. So thank you again for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you soon.